There are two main themes of Jewish spirituality as well as other traditions. The first has to do with awakening and experience of inner transcendence, of divine connection, and of freedom from negativity, from anger, from resentment, from fear, from all of life's problems, really, and ultimately from ego. This is represented by the story of the children of Israel going out from the slavery in Egypt. And the second theme has to do with being a mensch, being loving and supporting of others. This is represented by the story of receiving the Torah at Mount Sinai. Unfortunately, many spiritual teachings and teachers tend to emphasize only one or the other. But why should you have to choose? You can actually do both. How do you do that? There is a hint in the opening verse of Parshat Noach, the story of Noah's Ark. Before we begin, I'd be so grateful if you would click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's a quick and easy way to support this work. And now, on with the teaching. So it says, Ele Toldot Noach, these are the generations, or the offspring of Noah. Noah ish tzadik tamim haya bedorotav. Noah was a tzaddik, a righteous person, perfect or straightforward or simple in his generation. Et ha-Elohim hitalech Noach. Noah walked with Elohim, walked with God. This is what I want to open with, is this question of what this really means. It's somewhat obviously, I think, a metaphor. It doesn't mean that God and Noah were literally like walking like two people along together. But this concept of walking with God, what is the significance of this? So I want to talk about two kinds of action. The activity of human life exists along a kind of a spectrum. So these two kinds of action are like the ends of the spectrum. Creative, responsive, relational. So this means life that's lived in the moment in a spontaneous way. So the simplest example is if someone asks us a question, then our answer comes as a self-expression through language. We can't rehearse our answer to something that we didn't know was going to be asked, right? It's spontaneous life. And it can also be creative, right? It's in response to what is arising in the moment in a spontaneous way. And then the second kind of action is what we might call functional or mechanical. So functional means that it's just a means to an end. It's like walking across the room. It's like putting this thing in this bag. Like we don't usually think of that as an expression of our deepest self, right? Or even our not so deepest self. Like it's not really an expression. It's just a functional thing to get something done. As opposed to the creative, responsive, or relational, which has to do with living spontaneously in the moment. So when the qualities of the moment are good, we may want to hold on to them. We may want to capture them, but the moment is fleeting. How do we preserve qualities that come to us in the fleeting moment? We do it through something called art, right? All kinds of art, whether it's high art or low art, whether it's music, whether it's sculpture, whether it's theater, whether it's a movie, whether it's a TV show. The whole purpose of art can be encapsulated by this basic kavanah, this basic intention to take a certain quality and embody it in something so that we can revisit it again and again. We want to have that certain kind of feeling that we got from that song so we can go back and listen to that song again. It's like a moment that we had in time that we can go back to and revisit. Or a sculpture that embodies a certain type of ineffable quality that we want to experience again and again. So we take that sculpture and we set it in our house in order to have that quality kind of embodied and enshrined in some kind of way. So in this sense, we could see this whole story of Noah's Ark, right? The ark that saves all human life from the flood can be a metaphor in a sense for art, which is saving fleeting qualities of experience in a moment that would normally just come and then they'd be gone forever. No, they don't have to be gone forever. We can actually take those qualities of life that we experienced in a moment and put them into some kind of form. And so art is a way of saving experiences, and the Ark of Noah can be seen as a metaphor for that. Okay. Vaya'as Noach kechol asher tzivahu Adonai. Noah did just as Hashem instructed him. So, in the metaphorical sense, we could say Noah is an artist, but as it says in this verse, the ark is not merely art. It's not merely a personal expression, but it's a divine instruction, a mitzvah. Hashem told him to make the ark. So in this sense, this is not the art of music or painting or sculpture. This is the art of living. Our canvas for the art of living is actually this moment. As you're sitting here, listening to these words, this is the canvas upon which we paint the art of our lives. Now, this is reflected actually in a famous teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. You may have heard that he points out that the word for ark, which is teva in Hebrew, also means word. Ark and word are the same word. So when God tells Noah to enter the ark, it hints at this practice of fully entering the words we speak, the deeds we do, meaning that they become temples of presence, expressions of something we might call Noam. Noam is a word that's used in the prayer language, in the liturgy, to indicate divine beauty or sweetness or pleasantness or grace. There's a verse in the special prayers that come at the end of Shabbat that are said traditionally on Saturday night as part of the evening prayers. And the words are, Vehi Noam Adonai Eloheinu Aleinu, may the sweetness or the pleasantness of the divine be upon us. And then it says, Ma'aseh Yadenu Konenehu, may the work of our hands be established. Right? Another reference to creativity, to the work that we do. So as we move from that day of rest, from Shabbat, into the week of work, this prayer is asking that our actions themselves become a kind of art, that the divine sweetness, the Noam, infuse the work of our hands. So how is this possible? What gives us the ability? So in the plain meaning, we get this ability from the practice of Shabbat, because on Shabbat we cease from creating, we cease from the world of doing, and we are in a kind of sacred restfulness. And in that sacred rest, our artfulness of doing is renewed. But there is a deeper level, not only resting from action, but resting within action. So Shabbat is kind of a ritualized resting from action, not doing work. But on a deeper level, the spiritual practice of presence in action is a kind of resting while we're doing things. It's a resting within our actions. And this is going to give us a hint now into the meaning of this verse, or the ending of the verse anyway. Et ha-Elohim hitalech Noach, Noah walked with God. The work of our hands, ma'aseh yadenu, is creative, but the work of our feet, the walking, the feet that do the walking, is repetitive, right? Walking, cleaning, moving, lying down, standing up, ordinary mechanical activity. Usually, we human beings wander through these motions unconsciously, lost in thought, dull and habitual. But the secret of walking with God is to bring our awareness into the simple and repetitive, to sense the divine presence in each step, in each breath, in this body that acts. So even while we're thinking about these ideas, we can actually put them into practice. Feeling the flow of the breath. Each breath, it just goes on and on and on. The normal the normal way of being is to just ignore it, to let it fade into the background. But Eta Elohim hitalech Noach. Noach walking with God means to bring our presence into the movement of the body. So bringing our awareness into our breathing. And this is the deeper Shabbat, not the Shabbat that comes only once a week, but available at any time in our simple movements. And here lies also the key in Noah's name, because the name Noach actually has a meaning. It means rest. Noach is rest. So to embody Noach is to let the thinking mind rest in the living awareness of the senses, in the movements of the body, in the sounds, the scents, the textures of this moment. And so we have the two words Noach and Noam. So Noach is rest. Noam is this concept of divine sweetness or divine pleasantness. Meaning that when we rest our awareness and our simple movements that we ordinarily think of as functional or mechanical, rather than wandering in the alleyways of thought, then we have the energy, we have the koach to make our creative, responsible, relational actions into more beautiful art, into more of an expression of Noam, rather than just being however we happen to be reacting in the moment. We can bring more consciousness to our words and to our deeds. So Vihi Noam, may this sweetness be upon us, the work of our hands, the walking of our feet, the art of being awake.